soon. I'll have Mitzi take over. Mitzi?
Thank you, Sherman. Good afternoon, everybody. It is with great pleasure, that we are joined here in the conference live. Okay. Our guest speaker finished his medical education at the University of the Philippines and his residency in Cardinal Santos Medical Center. He then completed glaucoma clinical research fellowships at the Mass Eye and Ear, Singapore Eye Research Institute, and at the Stein Eye. He is presently affiliated with the DOH Eye Center, East Avenue Medical Center, where he is the Assistant Chair for Research and is also affiliated with Cardinal Santos Medical Center. He is a proud father of two. Now, may I please introduce Dr. John Mark De Leon.
Okay. So thank you very much for inviting me. So this lecture will be about primary angle closure disease. So it's important actually that we understand the disease because there are a lot of new treatment paradigms in this particular disease. No? So, okay, so let's go through this. No? So let's start with so which is more common? Is it open angle or angle closure worldwide? So let's get the first year, no? Jed, which is more common? Worldwide, we're talking about worldwide in the world.
Open angle.
Yes, open angle is more common worldwide, no? How about in Asia, Janina?
Maybe angle
Do you agree? Second year, Richard, do you agree? So you agree that in Asia, angle closure is the more common? Okay. Actually, no. Actually, worldwide, actually, well, it's more common worldwide. No, it's more common worldwide, but in Asia, it's still open angle. However, a greater percentage of all angle closure resides in Asia. No, 70% of all PACG. Although if you consider all open angles in Asia, it's still more common. No, but worldwide, all the angle closure is concentrated in Asia. No, and you can see the numbers. No, very big numbers. No. So POAG is about in 3% of the population. Usually when they do studies on prevalence, the population above 40, sometimes 50, because it's more prevalent in that age. But in PACG, worldwide it's about 0.6. No? But the problem really in our country, we don't even know the prevalence. No? We have to depend on the prevalence of PACG in other neighboring countries. No, it's very high actually in certain areas. No, like China, East Asia. It's like the prevalence is almost 1.6, but worldwide it's about 0.6. No? Okay, so which is more blinding, POAG or PACG? Miguel, which is more blinding? PACG. No, so 3 times is more blinding versus POAG. And the problem, especially in Asia, is that it's more asymptomatic and it's more devastating in Asia. So that's the unusual thing about PACG in Asia. In other countries, it may be more symptomatic, but in Asia, so the ones that you see in the emergency room are simply the tip of the iceberg. You know? It's out there, but they just don't go because they have no symptoms, and that makes it a more devastating disease because PACG is one of the most devastating types of glaucoma. Kasama niya yung mga neovascular glaucoma. So these are the really rabid types of glaucoma. Kasi in glaucoma, there are different animals. The tamest there is normal tension. So PACG is a rabid type of glaucoma. No? So remember that, no, you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg when you see these patients who come into the emergency room. And that's more common in Asian countries, no? So I'm sure for the residents, I'm sure you all know this, no? And of course, Barbara, what classification is that? Barbara, what do you call that classification for the new classification system that we should now be using for classifying primary angle closure disease? What do you call that type of classification? Okay lang, Steven, Chief.
It's the angle closure spectrum.
Yeah, what do you call that? Diba? There's a particular acronym for that. And that's what we have to put in our charts, diba? Ano yun? We call that the Jolo. Ikaw na, senior. Ano yun? Begins
I'm
with...
not sure sa name, but the classification.
Oh yeah, you can tell me the classification, the spectrum actually.
So, first is primary angle closure suspect,
Yes,
primary angle closure, primary
Correct.
angle closure glaucoma.
yes. So that's the spectrum. No? That's the ISGO spectrum. We call that the ISGO spectrum, di ba? The ISGO spectrum. So it is based on end organ damage, not on symptomatology. Before, when you classify in the old times, di ba? Based acute, symptomatic, di ba? Angle closure, chronic, acute, di ba? So we don't use that anymore. We use the IAGO because it's based on symptomatology. And if you do research on angle closure, it's better you're at the same page. No? You know what you're talking about, no? When you say angle, because it's so, diba, occludable, close, diba? It's so vague, no? But you have to learn this system because this is what you use. And this will guide you in the clinics because studies are based on this classification system, the ISGO. So learn this by heart, no? So primary angle closure suspects, those are what we call the occludable angles before, right? It is non-visibility of the posterior trabecular meshwork for greater or equal to 180 degrees. But there's no PAS. There's just close apposition. And that's a risk, di ba? If there's so much apposition, there's that risk na didikit na siya. And this may compromise the angle physiologically, di ba? Then the next stage there is primary angle closure. There's already something happening. The pressure may be high, there may be PAS. Because of the close apposition, inflammation, and your trabecular meshwork is already compromised, diba? But you don't have damage yet of the nerve. There's no evidence of glaucomatous optic neuropathy, only when you reach that stage, when it's glaucoma na. Okay? So you have to learn this by heart, no, for the residents, no? But it's very important to know, kasi the problem now is that PAX is very prevalent in the population. I repeat, PAX is very prevalent in the population, especially among Asians. Here we don't know. That's why we need more local studies for this, no? And but again, what is the most important examination in identifying the different stages of PACG? Jed? Gonioscopy. No, clinical gonioscopy. That's why it's necessary talaga, no, to decide what to do. You really have to do a basic examination. A 4-mirror indentation gonioscopy is absolutely essential in managing this disease. No, it is absolute necessity. Okay, it's worth buying it, of course. No, okay. The Van Herrick is not at all a good way to gauge the depth, no? Because studies have shown that even among experts, it tends to diagnose 1 in 8 as close, diba? So it's not a good method, therefore, using the slit lamp. So you have to invest in this device, in this simple device, which you can use in the slit lamp, no? Okay, what is the conventional management of PACG, Rich? Laser iridoplasty. Laser iridotomy. Okay, that's the basic, di ba? That's we all know that, no? Putting a hole in the iris, di ba? However, you can see, no, what PI does, no? It relieves only one aspect, which is called, what do you call that? It's already here pala. Pupillary block, no? Pupillary block, no? You put a hole in the iris, you don't really expect the pressure to go down, di ba? And even, you don't really expect that, ay, magbukas yung angle, you don't really expect that, no? unless you really measure it with anterior segment OCT. But clinically, when putting a hole in the iris, you really relieve the pupillary block, diba? The pupillary block. No? You relieve that when doing a PI, diba? Okay. So there are many mechanisms of angle closure, no? And pupillary block is just one of the many mechanisms. You have a lot of mechanisms. You have a thick lens, diba? A plateau iris, so there are many mechanisms. So just doing a PI will just address the pupillary block mechanism. And in PACG, it's a multifactorial condition, no? Not just pupillary block, no? That's primary, no? And of course, even doing a PI, there are some angles which still remain closed, no? And as I said, it's because this disease is actually multifactorial. So you do a PI, you relieve the pupillary block, diba? And of course, how come angles stay closed after doing a PI? Again, a lot of reasons, no? And I can mention again a big thick lens, no? And it depends also on the configuration of the anterior chamber angle. Because in angle closure, the problem is really anterior segment crowding. It's not having a small eye, diba? It's not, well, hyperopia is a risk factor, but in a lot of Chinese populations, you have myopic patients who have a lot of angle closure. So it's not the eyeball size, no, it's merely the anterior segment crowding. That's a big risk factor there, no? So the lens actually is a major factor in ACG, angle closure glaucoma, especially as the patient ages in the elderly. That becomes a big factor. It increases the pupillary block, no? And you can see here that it is a multifactorial disease, diba? And you see the dimensions that you have angle crowding, and all these factors show that kung masikip yung anterior chamber mo, the risk increases for angle closure. And what increases the angle crowding? It's the lens. It's the cataract as we grow older, diba? And of course, you have some demographics, no? So you see, it's very, anatomically, it's all anterior chamber crowding, diba? So I think this is very important. No? I made this kind of spectrum that I think is very important for you to internalize, no? So there's an S there, that's PACS, no? But you have to remember that not all PACS will go through the spectrum. When it's red, that means nagsisimula na yan, no? Kasi most SPACs naman will not progress naman. Eh. They'll just be there. These are the occludable angles that you have in your clinics, which are very common. And how common are these PACs? Well, quite common. In patients over 40, if you maybe 1 out of 10 will have PACs. In certain Chinese populations, that's very common, diba? And it is a challenge really to identify sino yung mag-go through the spectrum and end up in glaucoma. That's really a challenge, no? And that's perhaps the of research, no? They want to find biomarkers or indicators that these patients really have to be watched because they may go through the angle closure spectrum, no? And remember here, when you have angle closure, if you nip it in the bud, like what they do in Singapore, sometimes you end up with no disability, di ba? O, punta ka agad sa ER, the right thing was done, di ba? I mean, di ba? Or even phaco, di ba? But we'll go to that later. So this spectrum, I think you have to internalize, especially for all your residents, no? And yun nga, gonioscopy is very important, okay? So I think what's important is this particular trial. Kasi, as I said, we want to identify PACS patients. Who are the PACS? We want to know the natural history of this disease, di ba? How often, what will happen to PACS patients as you go along and don't treat them? Kasi when you do natural history studies, di ba, parang you observe the disease without treatment. You just observe, di ba? And that's what you'd like to do, di ba? Kasi the question again, if you have PACS patients, do I do LI to these patients or not? And these are just PACS patients, and we know, yun nga. So what this trial did in China, this was a population-based study, big numbers of patients, about 900 patients each arm. One eye, they did laser iridotomy, and one eye, they just observed. PACS patients, no glaucoma, occludable angles based on the ISGO classification of PACS. So what did they find out? No? So this was published not in any ophthalmology journal, but in a high-impact journal, the Lancet. No? So this just shows you, kasi they didn't really have any natural history studies. They didn't really have any natural history studies on primary angle closure suspects. No? Before in India, they had a study, but it was an overestimation. But this particular study was high impact because it was able to observe the natural history of PACS patients for 6 years. No? And they simply found out that the incidence of progression for PACS is really very low. No? As you can see here, no? Only 4 out of 889 progressed to PACG over 6 years. Over 6 years. No? And furthermore, well, as I said, we don't have any local data, but PACS patients can be very prevalent in East Asian countries. No? Perhaps in your clinics, those above 50, perhaps 1 out of 10, maybe. No? Especially as you age, the cataract becomes thicker. Diba? So I go back to that ZAP trial. So one arm, they did laser iridotomy, and one eye they just observed for 6 years. Tapos what were their endpoints? Endpoints include an attack of angle closure, development of PAS greater or equal to 1 clock hour, or IOP of greater than 24 millimeters mercury. So those were the episodes or the endpoints. So through the 6 years, if you compare the endpoints, how many reached the endpoint? In the patient that underwent laser iridotomy on the left, only 19 reached an endpoint above. And those that were just observed, 36 reached an endpoint. So very small numbers, even though mas maraming nag-endpoint dun sa observational group, di ba? So what did this, well, all of these patients were Chinese, Chinese patients, no? This was a population-based study, no? So it just showed us that only 6 developed an acute attack. And most of them were because of pupillary dilation. Kasi in these studies, they routinely dilate the patient. So 4 of those episodes were post-dilation. No? In the control group, observational, 5 underwent acute angle attack, and 1 in the LPI group, only 1. No? So those were the numbers. No? About in 6 years, 0.5% get PACG, 4% get PAC, and 0.7 develop acute primary angle closure. In the 2 arms, there was no difference in terms of intraocular pressure, incidence of acute attack, or even PACG. No? So the need to treat is 44. No? 44, you need to treat 44 to prevent PAC, and you need to treat 126 to prevent 1 from developing PACG. So it's not a good thing. No? I mean, that's why it doesn't make sense, like doing from the public health standpoint to zap all patients with PACG. It doesn't make sense, di ba? So yun. So LPI for PACS is not beneficial from a public health standpoint. And this was the beauty of this trial, which was published in the Lancet. No? So the problem really is that fear factor. No? A big factor that leads a patient to undergo an LI is fear. That's why we have to communicate well to the patient, articulate it well, what the risk is. Diba? I mean, I think that's what's important. Kasi sometimes when you mention things, natatakot na yung patient. So it's the other way around. O sige, doc, i-laser nyo na ako. Because it's more out of fear, no? So we just have to be educated about the risks and convey this articulately to the patient. Okay? So when to do a LPI for PACS, no? Absolute, if the other eye underwent an attack, then absolutely the risk is higher. Like in the other eye, in about 5 years, 50% magkakaroon din yan ng, it will go through the spectrum. Or a relative indication would be the need for frequent dilation, retina patients, perhaps poor access to laser, and confirmed family of history. But on the conservative side, all you can do is just observe the patient. That's all. And as the patient ages, maybe cataract will develop. You remove the cataract, no? So that's it for PACS, no? So we'll talk about each of the stages separately. So we're first talking about PACS. Okay? So now we're on acute primary angle closure, the attack. the ones that you have in the emergency room. Well, the traditional principles of management is, of course, break the attack, reduce the risk of further attack, and lower the IOP and keep it low, traditionally. And of course, you have these traditional treatments, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, or you have all in your armamentarium, the meds and all that. But the bottom line is, do laser iridotomy, right? Laser iridotomy, the problem, so this was just recently published, in the Asia Pacific Journal of Ophthalmology. Kasi that's a traditional, so there are some non-traditional, kasi the problem with these studies, kasi, there's not enough data in literature. So that's why we go to experts, the Asia Pacific Glaucoma Society. We have experts there who give their opinion about certain aspects of angle closure or primary angle closure disease. So it's important to get consensus statements also, wherein there's a dearth of literature. Where's a dearth of literature? So, so these are some new things. Breaking attack they called it acute primary angle closure attack. They labeled it that way. Argon laser peripheral iridoplasty. Could also be, because sometimes you have these patients who, after all these medicines, are going to be breaking attack. So it's also possible to do ALPI, And of course, laser pupilloplasty. Parang you target the edge of the pupil, and somehow that could also break the attack. Just like you're using your argon laser. So these are some new things. Even anterior chamber paracentesis to acutely lower the pressure and prepare the patient for eventual laser iridotomy. Of course, the risk of infection, but consensus, I mean, you can see that it's high, 94%, for these. These are experts in the field, and they're kilala sila sa Asia Pacific. These are very known patients, consultants. So phaco for APAC, yes. Especially with cataracts as an alternative to LPI, but of course there are conditions that make it dangerous. How about, but of course there have been lots of studies comparing, in acute primary angle closure, comparing the traditional LPI versus early phaco. Ganun palagi yun. And these studies, which were like more than 10 years ago or 15 years ago, really they were randomized controlled trials comparing laser peripheral iridotomy to phacoemulsification. And one was in Singapore, one was in Hong Kong, and they consistently show that in terms of survival, in terms of intraocular pressure lowering, in terms of number of medicine, panalo ang phaco, panalo, just compared to just doing a laser iridotomy, as you can see in these Kaplan-Meier curves, up to 2 years, But of course, how long did they do phaco after the attack? Within a couple of days. And in the other study, within a week in Singapore. And these were older studies, So, of course, the optimum time, that's the problem minsan, But you have to really quiet that eye down. Because we don't do surgery in a hot eye, definitely, phaco or even trab, So what do the experts, what's the consensus regarding this? Actually, they're more conservative. They said about 1 to 3 months. The experts, they're more conservative. Just to let things quiet down. Kasi, of course, if you do it too early, you're prone to all these bag of worms that will just come out. I mean, waiting too long may increase the chance of PAS and eventual, so not too long. So their consensus was about 1 to 3 months. But others would do it earlier, lower the inflammation, and they do well naman. But I guess they're just being a bit conservative. So some consensus statements. It's well documented that early phaco following successful LPI, but of course you have to do an LPI first. But in these studies, they just compared. Early phaco may be an effective treatment for preventing PACG. Basta tahimik na yung mata. So those are some consensus statements. And of course, no to hot eyes in doing surgery, whether it's a trab or whether it's phacoemulsification, because of the complications that may arise, as you can see here. And yan, 100% consensus. No? You don't do phaco in Hungry Eye. And they came up with a kind of algorithm here. You can see the traditional, vertically that's a traditional, and the blue arrows there, yan yung mga alternative approaches like argon laser peripheral idioplasty, anterior chamber paracentesis, and early phaco. Kasi yung traditionally, what you do with angle closure, you do laser iridotomy, just that, then you wait. But that can progress eh. You don't do anything to the cataract. That can progress to glaucoma. Di mo lang alam. Tapos, kung tumaas na yung pressure, then kailangan mo ng trabeculectomy. And that even makes the cataract grow. Di ba? Kasi trabeculectomy can further cause cataract formation. So your glaucoma will advance. No? So alternative is to do early phaco, the blue arrows there. So that's the new consensus. No? So traditional kasi just do LI. But even if you do LI, these eyes will progress. Yun. Okay, so we covered PACS, we covered acute primary angle closure. Now we'll go to PAC. So PAC, again, according to the ISGO, is high pressure, peripheral anterior syndicate, but there's no glaucomatous optic neuropathy. Pressure can be high. Or even telltale signs in your anterior chamber if there was a previous attack. Diba? Iris swirling, pigmentation of the trabecular meshwork, telltale signs, glaucoma flecken. So these are all telltale signs that there was something that happened here. And that's PAC. But a normal optic nerve. No? So, of course, if you have PAC and you have a significant cataract, then of course remove the cataract. Diba? It's symptomatic eh. But the question is now, if you have a clear lens. If you have a clear lens, no? And this is where a landmark study really showed us the direction, no? And that's called the EAGLE study. I'm sure all of you heard this, no? And again, this EAGLE study was published not in any peer-reviewed ophthalmology journal, no? It was published in the Lancet, no? High-impact Lancet. No? And it's called the Effectiveness of Early Lens Extraction for Treatment of Primary Angle Closure, a randomized controlled trial. No? So this was a multi-center study. No? And the objective was to evaluate whether early lens extraction improves the intraocular pressure. So not only IOP, no? They also included quality of life and cost analysis versus the standard of care, which is laser peripheral iridotomy. So phaco versus LPI. So this is an infographic of the EAGLE study. But I think it's important to know the cohort, the patient cohort in this study. No? So what did they include? So it's clear lens, no? But there was no visual acuity cutoff. They included patients who did not complain of symptomatic cataract. Yun lang. But they were all above 50. So in other words, you'd think that more or less somehow they'd have some cataract, diba? But they just call it clear lens because they weren't complaining about their vision. There was no cutoff. And they included patients here who had pressures above 30. PAC or early PACG. But they excluded APAC, acute. They excluded advanced glaucoma. Diba? Or previous laser iridotomy or laser procedures. No? So one arm, LPI, the standard treatment, and the other, phaco. Multi-center trial, different races, but 30% Chinese. And they followed these patients up for 3 years. And the winner was, in terms of intraocular pressure, in terms of quality of life, and in terms of cost effectiveness, hands down, the winner was phacoemulsification. So these can guide you, if you know that cohort of patients, this can guide you in saying that phaco is the way to go, not laser iridotomy. So it's very important to know the cohort or the patients whom you're dealing with. No? Are they similar to the EAGLE study cohort? Yeah. So this told us a lot. No? The results indicate that clear lens extraction should be considered the initial treatment for PAC and moderate PACG with increased intraocular pressure. Okay, and you can see here, if you have residual angle closure, you do phaco, and that angle really opens up. Okay, okay. So that was PAC without cataract, but with PACG or PAC with cataract, phaco has a lot of advantages. No? Lowers IOP, decreases PAS, opens the angle. Of course, better VA. No need to do phaco in the future. However, it's more risky. But I guess the risk is low, but it shouldn't be a hot eye. No? But it's a case-to-case basis. No? Individualized treatment. No? Individualized. That's why there's no hard and fast dekahon in this case. No? These just guide you. These studies just guide us. No? So should all patients with PACG or PAC and no cataracts have a phaco? No. As I said, you just remember the cohort of the EAGLE study. Okay? And probably you consider removing a lens without any complaints, cataract complaints, with the following factors or conditions. No? Okay? So we just spoke about PAC, PAC, and APAC. Now we'll talk about PACG. No? So PACG, there's already glaucoma. No? And of course, you can have a lot of stages of glaucoma. You have early glaucoma, moderate, advanced. No? But I think really, just looking at this slide, more or less, this will just guide you. No? Just you have to know the severity of the cataract and the severity of the glaucoma, and perhaps tailor things. No? That's why you have to know. You have to know the status of the nerve, the visual fields before in decision making for glaucoma. You really have to get all the information, and it really has to be a discussion with the patient. You have to consider so many things: the status of the other eye, the health condition of the patient, to do surgery or not. So many things to consider. So many things to consider. No? So another big question is phaco or phacotrab. And these studies, which were again more than decades ago, no, 10 to 15 years ago, in Singapore, in the Hong Kong group, and I think, kasi the big question again, if you have combination of PACG and cataracts, will you just do a phaco alone, or will you combine it with a trabeculectomy, a phacotrab? That's the usual question, diba? To combine or just phaco. So they were the ones who made the initial study. So one was uncontrolled and one was controlled. They were the pioneers to showed us that it's possible to get away with just doing a phaco. They were that group, no? And you can see in these curves, that kasi yung significant yung may arrow. So yung phaco yung sa taas, yung solid line sa taas. Tapos yung phacotrab, yung dotted line. So you can see that after several years, after several months, within 2 years, you can see that the pressure control down the line between phaco and a phacotrab is almost the same, no? Non-significant. Yung may arrow lang yung significant. Yung arrow lang. Dito sa left graph, you see there are 3 lines there. They excluded yung nagka-hypotony eh. Kasi that's the problem with the phacotrab. You get more hypotony. And we don't want that. That's why, they excluded in one line there, they excluded those about 7 patients that underwent hypotony. In-exclude nila dun eh. So you can see, halos hindi significant na yung difference nila. Diba? Kasi now, we try to, diba, do no harm. Diba? The problem with trab, sometimes you get a lot of complications, especially hypotony, and we don't want that. No? So they were the first group to show that, no, this Hong Kong group, no. Of course, when you do a phacotrab, you get lower IOP compared to just doing a phaco alone, no. Yun. But of course, you have more complications. How about phaco alone is a feasible option for IOP lowering in PACG? Yes, no. And of course, now, what's common now is yung goniosiniculitis, tsaka goniotomy, di ba? And the more and more, especially in a region, especially in Hong Kong, in China, they've been doing a lot of goniotomy combined with phacoemulsification to further lower the pressure. That's why they came up with the phacotrabeculectomy versus phacogoniotomy study group, di ba? There's that big group eh. Actually, sila rin yung proponents ng mga ano eh, yung sa APGC eh. So they're doing a lot of studies kasi di ba, we want to add something to phacoemulsification to further lower the pressure in PACG. And yun nga, phacotrab, they're trying to shy away because of the complications. So they do make sometimes other procedures in conjunction with just phaco. So now they're doing a lot of phacogoniotomy with varied types of instruments. But the problem with GSL, the results are like studies show na sometimes they work, sometimes hindi. So we need more studies with goniotomy. But sometimes it's combined kasi you have to open up the angles before you do the goniotomy. So that's why you do viscogoniosynechalize with viscoelastic. So yun, it's evolving using goniotomy also with phacoemulsification for angle closure. Yeah, so most studies come from China. Eh. So here they did advanced glaucoma, they did phaco combined with goniotomy. Side effects usually hyphema, anterior chamber hyphema, sometimes inflammation. Yun. Tapos, just some meta-analysis, yung PEI-GSL GT, that's the goniotomy. So it does lower pressure more than just phaco alone. And yun nga, the side effects or complications very minimal, like hyphema, ganun. So it's sometimes compared to iStent plus phaco. But in terms of IOP lowering, although hindi significant, lowest pa rin yung phacogonio. But the question is, how much IOP lowering does goniotomy do above phaco? So this particular study was a randomized controlled trial comparing phaco alone with GSL versus phaco-GSL goniotomy. So it's very minimal lang, yung about 2.3 millimeters, but we still need more studies with that. So this study group, yung phaco-goniotomy study group versus phacotrab, did a randomized controlled trial between phacogoniotomy and phacotrab for advanced primary angle closure glaucoma, and it showed that phacogoniotomy is non-inferior to phacotrabeculectomy in advanced. So, but this one again, we're all done in China. Yeah. So in summary, so these are my last few slides. In summary, for PACS, remember the what trial was that? The ZAP trial. So it just showed us that it's very rare. No, I mean, for PACS patients to move through the spectrum, it's kind of rare. No, so most you can do is observe. Of course, if you have cataract, treat it like a regular person. Do the cataract surgery. But if you have a clear lens, you can just observe, or in certain conditions, you can opt to do an LPI, relative frequent dilation, or definitively if the attack had, if the other eye had an attack or has glaucoma, has angle closure disease. No? So APAC, early phaco is an option there, but it has to be quiet, not hot anymore. Then if the attack doesn't break, you have alternatives. You can do anterior chamber paracentesis. You can do laser pupilloplasty on the pupil. You can do argon laser peripheral iridoplasty just to get the pressure down and do the definitive LPI. But you can do phaco also, but it has to be a quiet eye. Maybe conservatively 1 to 3 months. Some would do it earlier. Then for PAC, remember the EAGLE study. PAC. Remember the cohort of the EAGLE study. Again, what's the cohort of the EAGLE study? Patients with no symptoms of cataract, clear lens, but they were above 50 years old, high pressure, 30, PAC, sometimes with early PACG, but no attack, no advanced glaucoma, no previous. So that could help you. No? Then in PACG, you really have to know the severity of both cataract and the glaucoma. Then you have a lot of alternatives there, to move around with. You can do phaco-trab, but again, phaco-trab, you're prone to these complications of hypotony. So you can get away with a phaco, but sometimes kulang yung phaco. That's why after phaco, you still have patients who have still very high pressures. So sometimes you opt to do a sequential surgery. You do with the phaco first, then ayaw pa rin, you just do drops, then eventually baka matrab din. So that's sequential. No? Sometimes it's safer to do sequential surgery than do a single surgery at one sitting because of the complications. No? So yun, and in summary, yeah, so I think this is an important slide, so try to internalize this slide. No? And in summary, at our eye center, there's a trend na we do less trabs now or phaco-trabs now, pababa siya the yellow one. Tapos we seem to observe that recently we're doing more phaco GSL goniotomies, the blue line, the light blue line going up. And of course, phaco only, parang bumababa na. So sometimes we do more for angle closure glaucoma, for angle closure disease. So this was just an observation through the parallel years. No? So in summary, you have to know ISGO. No? You have to use gonioscopy because in decision making, the studies are based on the ISGO. PACS, they're all around the place. So you really have to identify the risks of whom to patients to do LI. APAC, we have new non-traditional approaches. Don't do surgery on a hot eye, phaco or a trab. Phaco has a vital evolving option in the management of PAC and PACG. We really have to individualize or prioritize, talk to the patient, know the severity of both conditions, the glaucoma and the cataract. Look at the big picture when making management decisions. And of course, we look forward to 4 studies, especially regional studies. Asia. So actually, the Asia Pacific is at the forefront actually of management of angle closure disease. No? Usually in international conference, they're at the forefront. The Singapore group, the Hong Kong group. So, yun. Because it's a regional thing. The disease is more advanced and different. That's why we have the Asia Pacific Glaucoma Guidelines to guide us. Ayun. So we look forward to more studies, especially local, to identify factors in PACG eyes that would tell us which eyes would do better with phaco or phaco plus. So yun. So that's it. So thank you very much for listening. I hope I imparted something, especially to the residents. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Sige, we'll just get rid of the. All right, the feedback. Okay, gone. Okay, all right. Again, thank you. No, Mark's lecture really showed us, how much these studies have helped us in treating angle closure. The beginning of our practice, a lot of people were getting LI, and then we didn't know the value of removing the lens. Then again, because initially, phaco techniques have evolved also. So now that is a lot neater, better. It gave more people, which is more confidence in just taking out a cataract in this crowded eyes. So that's one thing that we have to consider. I think, Mark, we do have some questions. I'd like to. Can you open the chat? I think. Here's a question for you. Does axial length measurement play a role in management of angle closure glaucoma? Would a very short eyeball influence decision to do early lens extraction surgery?
Yes. Well, actually, as I said, it's more of the angle closure. It's more of the anterior segment crowding. As I said, usually even in Asian Chinese populations in particular, you have a lot of myopia with angle closure. So I think it's more of the anterior segment crowding that is more that's more of a risk factor rather than the axial length or the length of the eyeball. That's my opinion, and of course, yeah. So I think it's more of the angle, the anterior segment, the anterior segment. That's why sometimes if you get anterior segment images, OCT or UBM, you can really see the risk there. There are a lot of parameters in imaging, like you have all these parameters that you can quantify, lens vault, just to see how the lens is really adding to the crowding of the anterior chamber, diba? And you have all these, so these are very quantitative, and yeah, there are lots of studies on that that could perhaps try to quantify that risk of the disease.
Extreme facial length, or truly short eyes and the
Yes,
truly
yes.
long eyes are really
Yes.
at risk. And I agree with you, it's really the crowding.
Yes.
That's why maganda nga ngayon, meron ng, we can look into the lens vaulting plus the iris thickness and how significant that will be for our future management. So again, no, the technology really helped us.
But hyperopia is still a traditional risk factor.
Do we have any questions here within the conference? Ah, okay. Dr. Go?
Doctor, as you said, you waited 1 to 3 months in order to prepare the patient for definitive surgery. But in real world settings, sometimes the patient cannot wait 1 month.
Yes.
So my question to the glaucoma specialist is, how fast can you prep the eye to be quote unquote quieter compared to initial setting when the patient comes in? How fast and how your hindi lang cocktail, because some people will say not to use steroid, some would say steroid, some would say use it because it's already inflamed.
Yes.
So if you notice, you make natural steroid.
Yes.
So those are my thoughts.
Yes.
They're becoming inflamed, right?
Yes.
Pressures like that. You saw a previous trial of LI because you see the atrophy, right?
Yes.
And you see it doesn't even barely nudge it. So that's my question.
Regarding steroids,
How fast can you prepare and what? I don't know.
yes, definitely. We for angle closure attacks, it's part of the cocktail actually to give topical steroids that we continue, especially in the view of doing cataract surgery in preparation. So we definitely do that. Then we of course monitor the pressure, check the corneas if they're clear enough to do the cataract surgery safely. Yeah, we do cell count. Sometimes we do it earlier in our center. We do it earlier. Sometimes within the week. Sometimes.
Do you peg in your mind a specific IOP that you say, okay, I can do this with the minimal complication that I will do? Because you're entertaining to do the paper this because it's crowding.
Yes, yes, sir.
So off the bat, you'll do take-off, correct?
Yes.
To decongest everything. But of course, you have an opening pressure of
Yes.
what can you tell the residents in applicable opening mode before you?
Well, maybe within 20s, maybe
Maybe
within
the
30s, 20s. Then, of course, if we need to further lower the pressure and there is no contraindication, then we can give mannitol prior to the surgery to further lower the pressure if there's no contraindication. But I think, corneal clarity, intraocular inflammation is controlled, and of course the pressure should be low.
Sometimes you can't even bring you nudge it, it just goes out 5 points long. It's kind of scary to
Yes.
do the fake one.
Yes, sir.
Yung elevated
Yes.
comp.
Yes, yes. And you can get di ba? Problems with the iris.
Yeah, you get a rupture of the
So it's like a nightmare. It's like a fake nightmare.
But since Rory, you're a retina surgeon, sometimes when we go
A tap can help.
When Yeah.
Of course, you need to do with, if you're really going, if you feel that you need to do surgery at an eye with high pressure, mannitol, acetazolamide, everything that everything you did, and then you might be able to have to tap, because once you see the iris a little bit eager to go out of your eye, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
And then you wait, and then you tap slowly and then release, and sometimes it's enough for you to proceed and open up your chamber. Also, if in some eyes, that's why those new techniques, the iridoplasty and the pupil treatment, aside from the LI, have evolved, because when you get an attack, the whole cornea is super hazy, and you only have windows where you can go and treat. So if you can treat that window, the LI, then LI is successful. But sometimes you need to do a multiple. You have to have a mix.
Yeah.
So you do an iridoplasty, you do a pupilloplasty. So that's why I think it's very nice that it has been proven that those things, what you used to do and you think that it might help, has now been proven by these studies. Yes, they can help. And then what we've also noticed, if your LI nag-work initially, biglang bababa yung pressure mo, we call that the hypotonic phase.
Yeah.
Ideally, have your patient cleared na during the hypotonic phase, because that will go up in 1 to 2 weeks, and then you have to go in. By that time, the eye is quiet, relatively quieter. Max out your steroid so that your cornea, your endothelium is not swollen, your blood vessels are not dilated. So I think that's the best time before it starts to creep in and you're out of the hypotony phase. But I'm really happy all of these studies have showed up, because it really documented what was thought before na could happen. Ito na yung mga they had proven. Way back, he passed on na si Ravi Thomas. He used this study. Now, I don't know if you remember, Mark, the number to treat. He always had that number to treat for PAX patient. He passed on already. And again, it's very different from what you showed, but it was already a concern then, and it's still a concern now. So at least the studies are quite wonderful, to treat us.
I noticed, isn't it that we use argon laser plastic to push or to stretch the iris to open up. So I tried doing YAG. So first, you try to do LI, and you notice you don't hit. Okay, you don't hit, but sometimes you see the iris plane move a bit. Okay, moves a bit. It depends on how you aim. Okay, if you aim for a crypt that you're hoping to puncture, it actually does not move. Okay, so imagine the implosion of the eye. Okay, because the argon is not the same. Argon is talagang disrupt. Yag is cavitation. So if you imagine that you cavitate just before the iris, okay, so you're exploding. We try it, the pupil actually moves out. When it moves out, you observe the next clock power above and below. Sometimes it's open, rarely lang. That's what I noticed before. So once it opens, you have to do dynamic with your laser lens. Para ka nagkaganyan siya. Pag ginano mo, makikita mo mag-zip. Sometimes it zips open, then you see something else, then you do your YAG-LI. Just immediately change your setting, aim deeper. It can open. Okay, so when you do your YAGs, kayo mga residents, tignan nyo, don't just aim for the meat. If you know it doesn't work, you aim to push a bit more. It might help you. It might help you in preparation for your eventual phaco. Okay, that's from ano lang yan, yung mga nasubukan ko. Kasi I get patients na seen by other doctors, hindi talaga makikita mo. Then I say, I try it like that. But of course, you already decongest the posterior cavity with acetazolamide and everything. Because you need vector forces, and you need your posterior chamber to be mas decongested so that a slight push is enough to cascade it further on. Okay, maganda yung sinabi na kanina.
We have another question here, Mark. It's for Dr. Valero. Does a strong family history of angle closure figure in your decision to do LPI in patients with PACS?
No naman, kasi usually family history is usually linked with open angle glaucoma. It's not strong for angle closure, so it's more of that. Although recently they've been finding gene loci related, kasi mas maraming genes linked to open angle, pero now they're slowly finding mga new genes linked to angle closure sa mga GWAS studies. Dr. Ibanez would know more about this. Pero usually for angle closure, family history is not as prominent as it is for open angle.
I just noticed, Mark, no, most of your studies were, a lot of were lens related, no? The newer ones, no? Anything on plateau iris? Because it seems the plateau iris configuration, no? Kasi parang mas konti lang yung research on the natural history of your plateau iris classification. Yung sa lens, medyo nakikita na natin that the lens removal is very helpful.
Plateau iris actually is common among young patients who undergo an acute attack for some reason. Usually, acute angle closure or in primary angle closure disease, it's a disease of usually the elderly. That's why in what you call this, yung mga population in population-based studies, they do it above 40 or 50 years old. Plateau iris, if you have angle closure patients in the PACD spectrum who have angle closure who are very young, most likely they have plateau iris. That's one common observation among young patients who are part of the disease. So I've seen patients who are 20 years old, even 20 years old. I don't know if you have that, no? 30 years old. You ruled out all secondary causes, and it seems like primary, and they're so young. No, and a common cause of that is plateau iris. So it's part actually of the mechanisms of primary angle closure, plateau iris, the anterior insertion of the iris root, no? Anteriorly directed ciliary body, ciliary processes. So yeah, that's why it's true. That's why you do LI, and the configuration didn't change much. So because you already removed the pupillary block aspect, and yet you see it on gonioscopy or anterior segment OCT, and it really didn't change. No, it still remained closed. So yun, plateau iris is more common among primary angle closure in young patients. So if you have one, you check the configuration of the iris.
We have a question from Neil. Neil,
Hi. Hi, Doc Mark. Always a pleasure to hear you. So much good research. Actually, my question is regarding GSL. So I noted that I noticed na parang you did say that GSL seems to have mixed findings sa mga studies. Some say that it works, some say it doesn't work that well. But we seem to be moving towards a trend na nag-increase yung performance of GSL. Now that parang GSL is being performed more, do you find that the success rate seems to be much higher than previously reported in your experience, or is it also mixed, like what you've seen in the research that you quoted, sir?
In research, the evidence still is weak. But
Yeah.
recently, more and more GSL is being done to do goniotomy, to open the way for doing goniotomy. But that's why sometimes they just don't do GSL. They just do GSL combined with the goniotomy. not just alone, yung GSL alone.
The reason why I'm asking, sir, is I'm wondering if it's if the GSL evidence is weak more because it wasn't performed much, so they don't have much population, or was it reflective perhaps of lack of experience? Because there does seem to be sort of a learning curve when performing it. So I'm wondering if parang now that it's being performed more, are the success rates somehow becoming higher? Kasi ganun na sa ISAF, di ba, sir?
Update myself. I'm not sure of recent studies regarding GSL alone. But consensus, if you look at mga consensus or practice patterns, parang iffy pa yung results eh, if I base it on that. Pero I have to look at recent just GSL alone of how of the results.
Sir, sa ISAF, do we teach it na to residents?
Yes. Oo. When they do when they do goniotomy, they also perform the procedure
Yeah.
prior
So
to
I'm
the.
really excited to see how that happens when they do learn. Okay, a little bit jealous that they're learning that now. Thank you, sir.
GSL in a prior conference, parang it was more effective if it was done less than a year or less than 6 months. Kasi after that, they kinda remember to go back to where they were, yung goniosynovitis. So I think,
6 months
oh,
after.
yeah, parang but it would be nice to find out if somebody will be doing a study soon, to determine if it's still worth to do a GSL in cases wherein PAS has been documented to be long-standing. It's, that's a question that we'd like to know. Or the answer to that question is something we'd like to know. There's still a lot of questions rather also on goniotomy and how much goniotomy you have to do, how much GSL you have to do in your patients, and how effective it is in angle closure, knowing that these meshes are already damaged. Any more questions, Pat? Rem? And okay, the residents. Any questions while Dr. Mark is here?
You're cheating for that. Or going or cases come.
Ay, no naman, you have Scholastic naman to help you with that.
Ingat lang pag less than 2. Pag less than 2, medyo kabado. That's why the Eagle study, although they tell you to remove, medyo cuidado, especially if you do your anterior city, kung very shallow and then very vaulted, yun nung medyo kabado ka. We have a question here.
Okay, let's see if I guess that's what.
Very careful. Konting-konti lang. If you don't like update 15, for me personally, I don't update 15 since you have a trocar mo, shelving, your cutter, 35 gauge. Konti lang, just enough to get that call. Diba? Wala naman yan eh. Diba? What I do to gauge how much I put up. Diba yung primary cutter? Kapag yung primary cutter, sa air. So, wala. So when you go in, you assume whatever is from the barrel, tapping port, then you see it, kasi nagbibitrek ka eh. So, may view ka, makikita mo dito. You have to take pairs. Let's say you remove 1 or 2 cm pa lang. Shook. Hahawakan mo. Hindi pwede sobrang lambot kasi it's not going to be the way of motion. Para kang mini expulsion eh. So just to be enough lang for you to be able to displace with your viscoelastic. So pag mo, okay ka na, tanda mo yung cold na yun. Because you actually know you're opening your starting pressure before your surgery. Okay? Shit, tie it ha. Don't, kahit na shelving yan, tie it. Okay? Then do your thing. That will help you. Even so magiging less complication on your epithelium, your eye is chafing, kasi maganda. Then, walang hypersalt eh, basta ako hypersalt na. Try to have your own stash of glycerol. Try to have your own stash of glycerol. Nothing goes with glycerol. Huwag ka matakot sa endo. Hindi. Nothing grows on glycerin.
Hindi po wala. May sodium chloride na po.
Ako,
Stash.
For
May stash yan eh, doon sa
stash ka rin.
Any more questions for Mark? Any more questions? Rem, any questions? Oh, okay. Thank you, Mark. You know, it's always a pleasure to listen to your talks because you review us, you update us on the research, especially for angle closure. Sorry,
Di ba,
sorry.
with our patients that have undergone attack, we're able to do your playful. Kasi round, medyo mid-dilated pupil, it's okay na. But sometimes the persistence of the DM folds. Any other way to try to hasten the DM folds? Kayo.
We just waited though. Kasi it's because of the decompression of the globe. So it will really collapse. There's
Even though
no.
the pressure is 14, like, di ba, kunyari, yung the patients under I-14. Pareho ka, 14 to 16, pero still DM4.
Pero the pump at that time was compromised because of the pressure and then the decompression. So it would take some time for the pump to work again.
Steroids. Steroids.
Kaya nga eh.
Kasi ano yun, endothelial. So that's why we try not to do on a hot eye. Kasi pag hot eye, tapos damage na yung endothelium or the fluidics. So you have to, that's also one of the things that why you
Kaya
want
to
to
make the hot eye become quieter as fast as possible.
Sometimes, if you have angle closure, then you just treat it medically. Kasi sometimes it's very high, then you know, we meet patient, that's all the drops. Sometimes yun, bumalik yung patient, nakacetosolomide, yan, may DM folds na. Because of the decompression and what Dr. Rem mentioned about the compromised pump, because the pressure is very high. So, yan, then they come back, the pressure's 4, di ba? Sometimes, sometimes, if you wait for that patient, hindi bababa, but ask the patient to go home, take the meds, lie down, and the patient comes back the next day, lo and behold, the pressure's down, and you can already set the stage for doing an LI. Yeah. So if you just wait for the patient, dyan ka muna, but let the patient go home, rest, lie down, take the medicines, and ask the patient to come back the next day. It's much better.
actually temporizing. Kasi if you do surgeries, doon mo napansin mas maraming apparent.
Mas maraming capsular phimosis.
Yeah, basta.
Mas maraming, even if it's not hot, somehow, you know, if you thought na it was quiet, there is still some residual inflammation that persists. So, may ERM, capsular phimosis, refractive surprises for all of these patients. That's why for kayo guys, if you're going to do angle closure, do not put a multifocal, no? Just do monofocal because the refractive surprise, you know, you don't know if you're gonna get that, especially if they have poor zonule strength. Magkakaroon ka ng good luck. Okay. All right, any more questions? Very interesting talk for today with Mark. I'd like to thank him. And thank you for all the consultants who have joined us. And Sherman, your talk.
Alen, and thank you everyone. Thank you, Mark, for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you to the Glaucoma Service for another very interesting session. No? So again, we'd like to remind everyone about the business meeting on January 23. That will be face-to-face. We will be announcing the venue. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a great weekend. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mitzi.